Welcome to the Dyslexia is Our Superpower podcast with Gibby Booth Jasper, where we hear from fellow dyslexians looking at the positives dyslexia has to offer and the many ways to succeed as a person with dyslexia.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Gibby Booth Jasper, and today I'm talking with Yvette Blaess. She, for the last 5 years, has been on the board of the honorary board member for the international nonprofit. I'm going to start this again. Okay, try again. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Gibby Booth Jasper, and today I am talking with Yvette Blaess. Yvette, for the last 5 years, has been a member, an honorary member of the international nonprofit, the Dyslexia Foundation. Welcome, Yvette.
Hi, Gibby. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you taking the time and being here.
Thank you.
So let's start. Usually I like to start at the beginning, but for whatever reason, I'm feeling like that seems too boring. So for today, I wanted to kind of start somewhere different. I'm curious, you give a lot of presentations about dyslexia and giving your story, telling your story. I'm wondering, what's your big message when you talk to a group of people? What's your big message about dyslexia?
I think one of my biggest messages is to know that, a lot of people think that it is a disability. And I feel like some people in a disability, some sense is unable to do something. And I think that's one of the messages that I try to give out, depending on who I'm speaking to, is that being a dyslexic, it's not a stop sign. It's just a roadblock. You can do it. It just may take you a bit longer than someone that doesn't have dyslexic, but you can do it. And it's not a stop sign. It's just a little mini roadblock that you got to come over that challenge and figure out ways to get over, to pass that stop sign.
Mm-hmm. Love that. I really like that analogy. And is that something that you came to and kind of have always felt, or have you when you were growing up with dyslexia, did it seem more like a stop sign?
I feel like to the public, it felt more like a stop sign. It wasn't necessarily to me. I grew up knowing that I was ADD, ADHD, and dyslexic, and I was very much aware of it at a very young age of what my disability was and how to either not feel bad with the self-esteem. I feel like some people forget that it's not just the educational system that is the issue. It's also when we leave and we go and have relationships with our families, with our classmates outside, with relationships with even animals or even another, human being. I feel like some people forget that it's still, we don't just are in school and dyslexic and then we walk outside and we're not dyslexic anymore. I feel like people forget that. So it definitely was a, analogy that throughout my, experience and events of living in this world for 27 years, I feel like that's what I've kind of learned, that people think like, oh, you're dyslexic, you can't count money. I had that at a really job interview one time. They're just like, oh, you can't count money. I'm like, count money may not be as fast as you, but I can still count money. Or, oh, you read backwards? Oh, you can't read? I can read. I just can't read as fast, or I can't comprehend it as good, but I can read. So I feel like those questions kind of brought up the stop sign, where I feel like people think that it's a stop sign because it's labeled as a disability. And I'm not trying to take that away from us in the community, but I feel like it needs to be, brought up.
Absolutely. And so when you did go home, did you get a lot of support from sort of friends and family encouraging, saying that it was just a roadblock?
No. I went through my trial and error. It was, one of my family members, it took him a very long time to acknowledge it and be aware of it and have patience, tons of patience in me, and to know that, hey, I'm literally going to fail every test, no matter how many times I study, no many hours I study, no matter how the modification the school district did, I'm going to fail. That's just how I was, and in school. And there were some family members that did not understand that. But as it kind of kept going, it was more, oh, this is who she is. And I'm really just going to fail every test, no matter what. And so it took a lot of patience. But I mean, my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, they all really tried their hardest to educate themselves to learn. My mom to this day still, will send me dyslexic articles, and I'm like, I read that already. Okay. Like it's nice it's nice to have that family, but classmates, especially your social life, I feel like it definitely took a toll on me and my own personal story. I feel like that was probably the hardest thing, and to really acknowledge to people. And all my best friends know that I am. I'll tell them now. I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. This is who I am. So I've accepted that. And if it goes down to anyone, even without people with dyslexic, it's who you are, and that's who you're going to be. And if someone doesn't like it, if any type of struggle or any type of disability, if you don't like that person, then they don't agree or can't accommodate to who you are as a person, then walk away from the friendship, relationship, or whatever. So kind of my theory on that.
Awesome. Talk to me about how you were diagnosed.
I was diagnosed in 3rd grade. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't do numbers, I couldn't comprehend things that the classmates were telling me, or the teacher was talking to me. So they held me back. And then throughout my school years, I went to 13 different schools to try to figure out what was wrong with me. By the time I graduated high school, I graduated with a special ed diploma because of the No Child Left Behind law. By the time I was in senior year in high school, they didn't know what to do with me. They didn't know how to help me. So they're just like, they physically did not know. They've tried everything in the books. And so they had no choice but to graduate me with a special ed diploma. Throughout those years of school, I first started with just English classes, getting put out into a special ed class. Eventually it became math. Eventually it became my homeroom classroom every single day in the public school. So my classmates are like, I didn't know any. So my social skills were very low by the time I got out of high school. That's because they kind of took me out of that social scene. So when I left high school and entered adult world, I was very awakening to conversations and to comprehend everything of society, with music or why people do certain things, or stuff like that. I'm still at 27. I'm still like, what is that? Like, I don't understand. So comprehension skills.
Yep. So tell me what happened after high school. So you did graduate, then what?
I tried to go to college. I did that for very little time in my life, and I realized, and this will wrap into what I do now for the Dyslexia Foundation. I realized that when I tried college and I left college, I realized that there was a lot of issues that I was diagnosed with. Social anxiety is one of them. Depression was another one. PTSD is another one that I got diagnosed with. And I realized that I came from a really wonderful and respected parent upbringing. My parents raised me really good, and I wasn't a bad child or anything like that. And I realized that a lot of these, PTSD, depression, social anxiety, I realized that I was very confused, I think. And I realized that why was these events that occurred, what kind of solving the root to the problem. I feel like I kind of diagnosed myself. So I analyzed myself, and I realized a lot of it started when I was classified as a dyslexic, an ADD, ADHD dyslexic. And it started with the school system and the educational system, and even the social scene, or when I left, what I thought about and how I tried to address myself with my emotions. I was very poor. I was a very flatline emotional person. And I saw that as a lot of issues. And I realized that it was because I was dyslexic. A lot of these issues, these events that happened in my life, it was because of that. And then that's when I started doing research. And at that time, I knew everyone I knew about the population was dyslexic. But even now, it's hard to bring people out that are dyslexic. Now we're just now being like, hi, I'm dyslexic. Now it's no, we are like, let's, have this community. Like I'm so happy and honored to be living in this time right now, and for the community, because I see hear more and more people be like, oh, hey, I'm dyslexic. I'm like, oh my goodness. Hi. Hi, friend. Hi, community. Back then I knew the population, but I didn't know how widespread it was. And so I started doing my research, and there was like this huge community. And then I realized that, oh my gosh, this problem is still happening. And by the time that research, everything went down, I was 22. I was in my early 20s, and I'm like, our generation is about to suffer what I just went through. And that really frustrated me. I went through so much struggle when it came to being dyslexic. And I was so frustrated. It really frustrated me, the fact that dyslexia has been classified as an unseen disability and a gifted or advantage or disadvantage for the since dyslexic for 1877. And I think that is so wrong. If we are classified as a disability, why is there so much unanswered questions? And it really frustrated me, and it made me sad to think that our next generation is going to go through the same things that I went through, or worse, or even possibly a little bit less, but still, it still really frustrated me. So that's when I did my research, and I found the Dyslexia Foundation, and I became really good friends and mentors. They work with teachers, parents, special educational schools. I got to go to the schools. I got to meet the principals. I got to meet politicians, older people with dyslexic, and people that worked so hard, scientists that work day in and day out to figure out ways to do their research to help our next generation. And that really, to me, that's the solution, is to help these scientists continue their research and bring knowledge to people and let them know, hey, it's not just the dyslexic, it is the dyslexic, but it's also the brain. I go somewhere, oh, I had dyslexic. I'm like, no. you have dyslexic, or that pronoun, how they use it. So it's very interesting, and I love it, and I'm very passionate about it, because I want to make sure the next generation doesn't go through, or adults now can go get tested and go, you're like, okay, this can happen. As an adult, it's definitely I had someone ask me, they're like, oh, you were fine. How were you fine as an adult because you knew your whole life? And I'm like, kids, that's a whole new other world. Adult world, being dyslexic is like, it's a whole new other, trying to learn something new. It's a lot. And it definitely was a struggle, and it still is a struggle every day. You have to work at it, and it's a challenge, but it's not a stop sign.
Absolutely. Can you give me some examples specifically for you? What are some of the things that you either day to day or even when you were growing up that you found particularly challenging? And then what are some positives, some advantages that your dyslexia gives you?
Some challenges. Well, besides the failing every test, no matter what, my father and I used to sit down, and the school used to give me literally the answers to the test, and then they would just change little words around, and I would read the sentence and no idea what it is, absolutely nothing. And then because I'm ADD, ADHD, and dyslexic, my brain moves so fast, so my memory is not the best. So definitely, it was really sad when I was in school living with my parents. We would go on these trips, and I would sometimes have no memory of them. I would go hang out with friends, and I still it would be 2 days later, and we went on this trip, and I would no memory of it. And they would have to sit there and go back to the day before, and I would have to really think about it. And so that was a really big struggle for me. A lot of that. And even when I remember I was 17, my mom was upstairs, and she was like, go downstairs, get something to eat, because I was hungry. And I go downstairs in the cabinet, I look in the cabinet, and I just start tearing. I think I spent 10 minutes sitting on my kitchen floor trying to figure out what I wanted to eat, because I couldn't decide, because there was just so much. And it took me a really long time to order something off. Even now, I think, no, I'm good now. Now I'm good. Now I'm learning. But menus, recipe menus, or eating out and things like that. I just don't do it. Like I was growing up, I'm like, oh, you guys order. I'm not. I never used to order, even when I was out. Even when I moved outside, when I used to go on dates, you can order. Are you sure? Nope, I'm good. Like, like you can order. I'll just don't add too much of this and that, and I'm good. And so that was something that I think I learned. That's like, okay, things like that. It's frustrating. It's like, oh, I want to order, but you look at that menu and it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot to read and it's a lot to comprehend, and then it's a lot of decision making, and yeah, that doesn't go well with me. So I think that was probably growing up. The good thing about, I feel like, being the person that I am and of who I am is I'm very, I wouldn't say creative. I'm very problem solving. So just like I'm doing now with the mission that I'm on for the past 5 years, I've created different projects, probably around past 5 years, probably 5 that I want to, bring out to the public. It's solving the root of the problem. It's figuring out what I can do or what I can solve an issue. I'm really good at that. I've had people, I can sit in a room and everyone talks to their problems about this, problems. And then I will go and, my dyslexic brain, and I'll figure out a root to that problem. And I feel like that's one of the fun things about what I do now and what I do with the little projects that I find out. It's just trying to get to the root of the problem and figuring out ways. Creative, I can be. If I like something, I can be. Yeah. I'm me, so I don't necessarily think that for me, I think that any person has their good and their bad. And if they like something, that's their goal. If they don't like something, they're not going to do something. It just takes us a little bit, or it takes me as a dyslexic a little bit longer to figure out as an adult what that was.
Awesome. Excellent. So I'm curious, can you talk to me about the modeling work that you've done, and then also how you're using that to help with how you feel and spreading the word about dyslexia?
Yeah, I started modeling at a really, really young age. I wasn't really it's always been in my life. I've always, like I said, I started doing it at a really young age, and I would go back and forth with it because of certain things that I went through, events that I went through. I went back and forth with it, and then finally, when I got a little bit, when I left college, when I was going on this story, like my story earlier, how I kind of came into this passion and community with the Dyslexic International, I realized that about the community and what the educational system, what we were doing with dyslexic wasn't right. I decided, like, okay, what can I do to bring more awareness to this issue? Or how can I bring more awareness to this issue? And everyone loves a pretty face. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to go through all these events in my life and work really hard to figure out this issue, to help the community and to help people in general, how can I, what can I do to be out there? So that's when I started modeling again. And I did pageantry, and I put pageants. I did that as my platform to bring more awareness. Everyone loves a crown and a sash and really cute gown. And that's what I loved about it. And then I was loving about the pageant is that it was a platform. And it was a platform where they would be able to help me get to where I wanted. So I am still in that mission, and I still do modeling, and I still do different modeling projects I'm actually going to be presenting publicly throughout the October month, which is Dyslexic Awareness Month. So things like that, I feel like is a fun way to do it, and also to show people, to get people's attention. Now you have Instagram and Facebook, you post something or you text something, it could go national. I think that was one of my biggest things that I wanted to do and want to create to bring the public into the dyslexic community.
Awesome. I love that. Talk to me about the dyslexic project that you've got going on.
It is basically, I go on these rants and through these rants, I decided that, so for me, how I learned, so I was unable to write or comprehend when I left college very well. And I used to type a lot. My emotions come out better when I'm writing. And expressing myself, as you've heard in this interview, is not always my favorite thing to do or the best thing for me to do publicly. So texting or typing is probably the best way to get my thoughts and opinions out there. And I realized that, well, that's something that I like to do. And it's a talent, I feel like sometimes. So I decided to do a dyslexic project, which is, first starts on Twitter right now. I will go on my little rant about how, we're called an unseen disability. Well, I'm definitely not unseen. And Gibby, you're definitely not unseen. And so I think that these terms that they're using and labeling us is wrong. I think that they should definitely just label us as dyslexic and be done with it. I think that, back in the day when I was in high school, we used to live in a right-hand world. I remember going to PE and they're like, oh, you're a lefty. Well, I don't know how to throw the ball. I remember a teacher being like, I don't know how to teach you, but let's teach you how to do right hand. They physically tried to make me right hand, but I'm not. I'm a left-handed. No matter what they try to do with paper, with churning the paper, with angling the different, dribbling a basketball, it was a right-hand world. A couple years ago, they never had right-hand scissors or left-hand scissors. Now I can go to Michael's and probably find a couple left-hand scissors. Now certain people know how. They have golf. What is it? Golf. What's that thing?
Golf clubs? Golf clubs.
Golf clubs. Thank you.
Yep.
They have golf clubs that are left-handed now at Top Golf. That to me was like amazing. I was like, really? You have that stuff? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's so funny. I feel like we live in a right-hand world right now. That people need to accommodate. People need to be aware. People don't need to just shove, oh, you're dyslexic, you'll figure it out. You're gifted or you're creative. Well, yes, of course we're creative because we live in a right-hand world. So how else are we supposed to cut that scissors? Now with your right-hand scissors, we have to figure out how to cut it perfect. So we'll get paper. We try to bend, of course, that's how we have to be creative. A lot of people don't really have a choice. I know I had to be creative to communicate with people, to understand certain things, or to read a book. For me, to read a book, I have to read it, I have to highlight it, I have to underline the words I don't understand, I have to write the definition, I type it on my computer, but I still read the book. Mm-hmm. That's me being creative to try to understand the book. And I feel like that's where people are not getting and the public is not getting. So that little example of my rant will be on Twitter because I get so frustrated. You can hear it in my tone. It's just so frustrating to me to see and not being acknowledged that we are dyslexic. We're not going to change. We can't change. You cannot. We cannot. No research on this earth can change the way our brain is formed. Therefore, you need to acknowledge us. Therefore, the public needs to be aware of it and accommodate to us. We are a disability, and I'm not trying to take that away, and we will forever be a disability. That means we have the right just as any other disability has. Mm-hmm. And those things like that, to me, is what we need to bring to the public. And that's what I want to do with the Dyslexic Project, is I want to bring the community together to start realizing that we don't need to have laws here. Don't get me even started with this color thing. That's also going to go on my rants. It's like, oh, we're ADHD, but we're also mental health, but we're also suicide, but we're also depressed. And, we don't have like a solid color. We're silver, we're orange, we're blue. There's no solid color. Of course, we're not going to have awareness. because there's no true solid color for dyslexic right now. And that's what I want. I want the government to let's go to the root of the problem, and let's try to bring public awareness and knowledge to help the educational system, to help our teachers to properly understand, to help the parents to, oh, should I go on this website organization that's supporting, or should I listen to this person that's supporting dyslexic, but it has a totally different research and information? There's so much information out there about dyslexic, but is it all right? And is it all the same? No. And that's what I want the government to be aware and the public to be aware of.
Awesome. And so it's interesting because it's a message, you know, for definitely for non-dyslexics as well as dyslexics. Am I understanding that correctly? That it's not just like, hey, dyslexics, like this is what I want, you know, you guys know, it's really targeting non-dyslexics and public awareness.
Yeah, because we live with it. So it's like, you know, we have to live in the world just with you too, you know, with people that aren't dyslexic. So yes, I feel like, you know, we go through these lives and yeah, we do ourselves. I feel we as the dyslexic, we need to be accountable for it. You know, we need to be like, yes, we are, you know, be like, okay, and your point is, you know, okay, your point is what? Let's move on, you know, and let's, you know, accommodate to me and accommodate to my needs that I need. And I feel like everyone in this world somehow just, you know, has an issue. But I feel like people in the public and, you know, we need to stand up too and be like, hi, this is an issue. And hi, yes, you do need to help us. You know, it is an emotion. The thing is, it's emotional. It's personal. It's self-esteem. It's your self-worth. And it is a very, very, when you wake up every day, I don't think some people realize, I think everyone has a form of a disability in their own way or form. But when you wake up every day and it is a struggle to even wake up or open your eyes and your mind is already done with the day within 5 minutes and you're already tired or you're already annoyed with something that's going to happen at 5 a.m., that's a form of a disability. That's when you wake up and it affects your everyday life.
Absolutely.
It's basically saying, like, you know, you asked me about, you know, am I reaching to the dyslexic community or am I reaching to the public? And we live in this world just as much as anyone else. So I feel like the public is definitely something that I definitely want to reach out because it hasn't been done before. And then also to the dyslexic, I've been traveling internationally for 5 years. I go to conferences, I go to seminars, I've been to Russia and hung out with a bunch of dyslexic science for a whole week, listening to science terms, which is so funny. But one thing I would have loved to see in the future, and this is what besides the public or the dyslexic community, I want us to go out there. I want us to be at the marches. I want us to be in those conferences. It's very surreal. And I think every dyslexic should realize this, that the first time I went into a conference, I literally sat there in a room full of a bunch of the principals, bunches of lawmakers, bunch of people that have been doing this for research for years and years and years. And it was very surreal to see all these people studying basically my brain and talking about basically my brain. And it is the weirdest, warm feeling in the world that a bunch of people are spending hours and weeks and so much passion behind to try to bring the right research to the public and to the education, to the school system and to our government. And I think every dyslexic should be grateful and should help too. It's not, you can try to help someone that's laying down that doesn't want to get up all day long. But until we accept it as people and as a community, you know, how far are we going to go? But if we all come together as, you know, all these supporters, and we go to the marches too, we go to these support groups, we as an adult, as a dyslexic adult, we go and help the supporters with talking to the parents on how to help their kids, going to these awarenesses, these fundraisers, these communities. We tell our stories too. It's hard, yes, but is it worth it to help the next generation? 100%, I believe in that. Or at least give back to someone that is going through what you're going through or try to help. And I think that as a dyslexic, I feel like that should be something that we need to be more, it needs to be more brought up in our community. And it's struggling, and it's, trust me, I'm the first one, it's very emotional. But it's something that I feel like that we need to be the ones I feel like it's our responsibility too, to be the ones like, hi, I'm here. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight with I'm going to fight with these parents, the kids that aren't able to understand what dyslexic is right now. Let's fight all together as people with dyslexic, the community, the parents, the government. Like, let's all come together, not just the moms and the dads going to the courtrooms, not just the government doing, taking little bits of, whatever court system they have. Why aren't we there? I go to all these public conferences and I'm the only one that's dyslexic, and the only other 3 are under my nonprofit. So it's like, we should be here too. We should help and help. And even for scientists, it's like when I'm around, I'm like, you guys are doing I always tell them, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you so much for helping us. Because that's something right there, is like, they know we're acknowledging it and that they're trying to help us. They're trying to help our next generation. I feel like that's something that I feel that for the dyslexic community, that's something that I would love to get out to them, and let's speak up and let's talk about it more. So that's for the dyslexic. And then for the public, something needs to get done. That comes with my, that comes with my dyslexic project that I'm trying to bring more to the public awareness about dyslexic. No, we don't all read backwards. No, we all can do certain things. Yes, some of us can be doctors. Yes, some of us can have our own lives, and some of us all have issues, but not issues, but we all have struggles, but it's not all the same, and it shouldn't be categorized as all the same. So to the public, the respect that they should be giving us, and not just, oh, you can't count money, or, oh, okay. That pettiness is just not fair to us. And it's definitely not okay. So that's what I wanted to bring to the public, for when it comes to my modeling, when it comes to when I speak or when I talk to the public. That's what I want to get out, is that, I've seen so many people, it's like, how my kids struggles, or kind of struggling with having a friendship or having a relationship. It's rude as can be. You wouldn't do that to someone that's that's not an unseen disability. I'm here and you're here just as much as anyone else. And I think that we deserve that respect.
Absolutely. I love it. So my last question for you, I'm curious, I love asking this question. What's your advice for the 2 main groups of people who listen to this podcast? So you can answer it in whichever order you want. Group 1 is the dyslexic parent who is maybe dyslexic themselves, maybe not, but they're a parent of a dyslexic kid. And maybe their kid's struggling, maybe their kid was just diagnosed. And then group 2 is the dyslexic young adult teenager who has dyslexia. What's your advice for those 2 groups?
I think for parents helping or raising kids with dyslexic, I truly believe finding their gift. So, and that goes to any human person that's wanting to know what dyslexic is, or that anyone, your goal or your gift in life is something that you love to do without the least thought. So what are you good at, or what is your talent that you love to do that takes you the least amount of effort? And I feel like for kids, finding for dyslexic, I think for parents, finding their gift at a very young age and letting them go with it would be probably the best thing. If they love to do art, find them the best art mentor. Find them and let them go and get them in a group with art people. Like, let them express themselves that way. Be patient, 100%. Be patient. Be willing to go through the tears. Get ready for it. It's a journey, and it's a journey not just for the parents. It's definitely a journey for the kids too, and know that as well. Just let them be. I think with those three, I think one of my biggest things is know that they are dyslexic at a young age, and letting them know that this is what your journey is going to look like. Let them be aware of it at a young age, because when they're aware of it at a young age, they're going to be able to help themselves when they get to it as an adult. And it stinks. I remember I had to go into my IEP teacher's meeting, and I hated it with every passion in my life. And I cried every time. I get migraines every time I take a test. I hate it. But I'm happy because then as an adult, I'm aware of it, and I'm able to help myself without having my parents around, without having anyone else around, because I was aware of my disability. I was aware what I was not good at, what I'm not going. I know for 100% where whatever job I ever took in life, it could not have a test, because I knew I was going to fail it. So whatever job I was wanting to get, if it had any sort of restaurant test or a quiz that I had to memorize this by this every day, I knew I could not have it. And I was okay with that because I was aware of it at a very young age. And I feel like that is something that we need to, parents, I feel like need to let their kids know what's going on and how this world sees dyslexic too. That it's not them. It's also the rest of the world that sees the way they see us different. So I think just acknowledging that to their children, and like I said, being patient. That would be for parents. Love them unconditionally, but that's everyone. For teenagers and young adults, it goes back to my first topic is, it's not a stop sign. You will eventually get there. One biggest thing is the problems that we all have now, even as a dyslexic or as a person, is they're not going to be around for 10 years. Know that it's going to be hard sometimes. Know that every day is going to be different, but just keep going. And if you don't want to, if something's hard, try to use that creative mind and try to figure it out. I feel that it's not easy as a dyslexic in the adult world. I don't think so. And I know a lot of people can back me up on that one. This world's not made for us. That's a fact. And I think that you have to know that to move forward and be okay with it, and just love yourself and have fun with it. Find out what you're good at, find out what you're not good at, stay strong, stay who you are. Don't give in, and just keep being you and continue to love life. Be creative, do whatever you want. Oh, get there. So I think those would be my advice, or my little rants, or my little talks that I go on probably almost every other day when people ask me what I do internationally. I love it. I'm very passionate about it. I've seen it. I've heard stories. I hear stories from adults to young kids to parents that cry. And I still to this day still get teary-eyed. But I think that it's definitely a mission. Sorry, Nico. I feel like it's definitely a mission. And, thank you, Gibby, for doing this and having me on here, and, keep doing what you're doing. It's definitely something that I know that you love to do and love to hear as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Yvette, thank you absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. Yvette, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me and reaching out to me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Dyslexia is Our Superpower podcast, and we'd love to hear from you with comments and questions, so please feel free to get in touch. You can email us at dyslexiaisoursuperpower@gmail.com. That's dyslexiaisoursuperpower, all one word, @gmail.com. And don't forget to spread the word by sharing us on social media.